Welcome back, everyone. This is Bryson Harden, and we're moving on to segment three, the theory application behind job stress theory in the sport industry. This theory is applicable in sport in numerous ways. On the sports side of the industry, it matters to players how they get treated by their coaches and administrations in which they play for. Um, could be collegiate, could be professional. If a team is known for not communicating to players when they have been traded, then they will get less players to sign there, a lower morale in the locker room, and yield poorer results. The same could also be said if it is pretty widely known within college hoops circles, for instance, that if a certain program doesn't treat their players too well, that they will, get less transfers uh, in the transfer portal and less commitments. Again, in professional sports industry, it's an industry based on performance. You're not performing well, your job could be on the line. So, athlete not performing poorly, they're going to get in their own head. Fans may boo or post on social media. Um, and, we're all human. Not everyone can avoid social media and what's being said about them. So, the athlete's performance may spiral. And this is where a sports psychologist would step in. So here's some examples. You have the 2016 Cubs facing the pressure of a 108-year-old drought without winning a championship. There was a ton of pressure on them, and Joe Madden helped them navigate that. General managers before trade deadline or draft night, uh, putting in a lot of hours studying and communicating with other teams about trades and whatnot. So definitely a huge workload in those weeks. A head coach knowing they are on the hot seat and feeling pressure from their administration or their athletic director, that if they don't have a winning season, they might be gone. And then lack of commitment to players from an organization, so not willing to sign them to a long-term deal because they might be planning to trade them, but they're not communicating that to the player. And then vice versa, an organization feeling pressure from a player who does not want to play there. Recent instance would be Aaron Rodgers. They had to trade him to the Jets for less than he's probably worth because he could just retire if he doesn't get traded. He didn't want to play there anymore. They didn't have any leverage. So now on the recreation side of things, a school with a shrinking enrollment needs to make budget cuts, and that's going to make people worry about their job security. Um, and whether or not their salary falls within those budgets that they're wanting to cut. A coordinator at a recreation center has done a great job adapting to their new role and growth and responsibility and workload. After a couple years, they have been rewarded with a promotion, possibly to assistant or associate director, for excelling with all of those challenge stressors. And then the city has cut back on their parks and recreation budget, but has not decided on which offices they will keep and cut. Um, as before, this is going to lead to worrying about your job security, job safety, and then while trying to prove why their office and functions should remain as part of the Parks and Rec department, the staff have resulted to backstabbing and bad talking their fellow employees in hopes that that will help them their office remain after the cuts. It's applicable in the recreation side of the industry because work stressors are just as evident in recreational settings as they are in any other workplace. Emotional exhaustion can be even more prevalent in graduate assistants for the simple fact that they are in graduate classes as well as getting work done in their respective jobs. This typically leads to burnout in graduate assistants. In conclusion, I found this theory particularly interesting because I always had an idea that it was a very real thing, but I was never able to I didn't know it was a fully formed theory with many endless studies being done on it. While researching this theory, I found out that if companies treat their employees with respect and allow them to control the stressors in their job, then job satisfaction will likely be a lot higher. Yeah, who knew, right? And here's my reference page. Thank you all for giving it a listen.